The morning sun touched the tall glass windows of Royal Drive Motors, one of the most expensive car dealerships in the city. Expensive cars shined like jewels under bright lights, and salesmen moved around, smiling only when they saw someone rich walking in. At the entrance stood Amara, a young black girl in her early 20s. Her clothes were clean but simple, a plain white blouse, blue jeans, and old sneakers. She carried a small purse and a confident smile, though her heart was nervous. She had always loved cars, and today wanted to buy one for herself, a reward after finishing her degree with top grades. As she stepped inside, every head turned. The receptionist, a tall woman with a fake smile, looked her up and down. Her tone was polite but cold. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Yes, please," Amara replied softly. "I'd like to see the new model, the Silver Falcon." The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "That car starts at $300,000, she said, stressing every word as if to test Amara's reaction. "I know," Amara replied calmly. "I want to see it." The woman forced a smile, pretending to check her computer. Then she whispered something to the salesman beside her, and both of them laughed quietly. Amara heard it, but she ignored it. She walked slowly toward the row of cars, admiring their designs. The salesman followed, smirking. "These are luxury models, miss. Maybe you'd prefer something affordable?" Amara turned to him and smiled kindly. "No, thank you. I came for the Silver Falcon." The man sighed, then nodded unwillingly. "Fine. Follow me." He led her to the back where the shining Silver Falcon stood, its metallic surface glowing under the lights. Amara's eyes sparkled with admiration. She walked around it slowly, like someone appreciating a piece of art. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Can I sit inside?" The salesman hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said simply. He sighed again and opened the door for her. Amara sat in the driver's seat, her fingers touching the steering wheel gently. It felt like a dream. She imagined driving down an open road with the wind in her hair. Then, suddenly, a loud voice echoed across the showroom. "What is this nonsense?" It was Mr. Bryan, the dealership manager, a short, red-faced man with a gold watch. He looked furious. "Who allowed her to sit in that car?" he shouted. The salesman stepped back. She wanted to see the model, sir." Mr. Bryan's eyes narrowed at Amara. "Do you know how much this car costs?" Amara stood up politely. "Yes, I do." He laughed, shaking his head. "Do you think you can afford it?" "This isn't a photo booth, young lady. We don't let people play with display cars." A few other staff members started watching. Some whispered, others laughed behind their hands. Amara felt her face burn, but she didn't lose her calm. "I only asked for a test drive," she said quietly. Mr. Bryan scoffed. "A test drive? For what? You don't even look like you own a car." The words hit her hard, but she stood still. "You're judging me by how I look," she said softly. He pointed to the door. "I'm asking you to leave. This is a luxury place. We don't waste time here." The receptionist crossed her arms. "Maybe she's lost," she added with a smirk. Amara stared at them for a long second. Then she nodded slowly and said, "Thank you for your time." Her voice was calm. As she walked out, the laughter followed her to the parking lot. She reached her small black sedan, opened the door, and sat quietly for a moment. Her hands trembled, not from sadness, but from anger. She took out her phone, dialed a number, and said only 3 words. They did it. Then she ended the call and looked back at the glass building. The same people who laughed at her through the window were still inside, unaware that tomorrow everything would change. The scene faded with Amara's silent smile, not of defeat, but of quiet power. Something big was coming. Night fell over the city, and the glowing lights of the Gates mansion reflected off the quiet lake nearby. Inside, the marble floor sparkled, and the air smelled faintly of jasmine. But Amara wasn't in the mood to admire any of it. She sat on the couch in the living room, her hands folded, her mind replaying every cruel word said to her at this dealership. She had been humiliated in front of strangers, mocked, dismissed, judged by her clothes. And though she tried to stay calm, The sting of those words kept echoing in her heart. Footsteps approached. Her father, Mr. Leon Gates, entered the room, a tall man with a calm presence and eyes that could silence a crowd. He was known as one of the most successful businessmen in the country, a billionaire who built his empire from nothing. But to Amara, he was simply Dad. Leon looked at his daughter quietly before speaking. "You've been quiet all evening," he said in his deep, gentle voice. "What happened?" Amara hesitated. "It's nothing, Dad." "Amara," he said firmly, "you don't lie to me. I know when something's wrong." She sighed and finally looked up at him. "I went to Royal Drive Motors today." Leon nodded. "The luxury dealership uptown?" "Yes," she said softly. "I wanted to see a car I've been saving for. I thought I could finally buy something for myself." He smiled slightly. "That sounds like a good thing. So what's the problem?" Her voice cracked a little. "They didn't even let me touch the car." Leon's smile faded. "They laughed at me, Dad. The manager kicked me out. He said I didn't belong there, that I couldn't afford to even look at it." For a few seconds, the room was silent, except for the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Leon's face changed. The warmth disappeared, replaced by a cold, unreadable calm. "What did you say?" he asked quietly. "I didn't say anything," Amara replied. "I just left. But before leaving, I called you. I said, they did it." Leon slowly sat beside her. "Do you know why I worked all these years, Amara?" She shook her head. He looked at her carefully. "Because when I was your age, I was treated the same way. People looked at me and saw nothing. No money, no power, no name. I promised myself that one day, no one would ever laugh at my family again." Amara's eyes softened. "Dad, I don't need revenge." Leon looked away for a moment, his voice low but sharp. "It's not revenge, my dear. It's education." Amara frowned slightly. "Education." "Yes," Leon said. "Some people don't learn from books. They only learn when life teaches them who they're really dealing with." He stood up and walked toward the window. Looking out at the shining cars parked outside the mansion, rows of his favorite vehicles. From Rolls-Royce to Bentley. "You wanted to buy a car?" he asked. Amara nodded. "Tomorrow," he said calmly, "you'll go back there." Her eyes widened. "What? Why?" "Because you deserve to walk into any place without being judged," he said. "And they deserve to see who you truly are." Amara stared at him, unsure whether to be nervous or excited. "Are you coming with me?" Leon turned with a faint smile. "Let's just say," he replied, "I'll make an appearance they won't forget." She tilted her head. "Dad, yes." "I don't want to embarrass anyone," she whispered. Leon looked at her proudly. "You won't need to. The truth will embarrass them enough." The next morning, the mansion buzzed with quiet energy. Leon's assistant received a mysterious call with instructions. "Prepare the Rolls-Royce. 10 a.m. sharp." Mara looked at herself in the mirror, wearing a simple but elegant dress this time. She still looked like the same girl, but today, she carried the power of her father's name, and something stronger, self-respect. As she walked downstairs, Leon was already waiting by the grand door, holding his car keys. "Ready?" he asked. Amara nodded slowly. "Yes, I'm ready." Leon smiled faintly. "Good. Let's go teach them what respect looks like." And as the mansion doors opened, the sound of the Rolls-Royce engine filled the air, deep, strong, and commanding, the kind of sound that made the whole city turn to look. Tomorrow's lesson had already begun. The next morning was bright and calm. The city moved in its usual rhythm. Cars rushing, people hurrying, and streets buzzing with life. But at Royal Drive Motors, something unusual was happening. The staff didn't know it yet, but their day was about to become unforgettable. Inside the dealership, the same receptionist from yesterday was chatting loudly with her coworkers. "That girl was so funny," she said with a laugh. "She really thought she could afford a silver Falcon. Can you imagine?" Everyone laughed. The manager, Mr. Bryan, joined in. "I told her to get out before she embarrassed herself. Some people just don't know their place." Just then, One of the junior salesmen came running from outside. "Sir," he gasped. "You need to come see this." Mr. Bryan frowned. "What now?" The salesman pointed toward the street. A sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom was slowly pulling up in front of the dealership. The sunlight bounced off its polished surface like liquid glass. The sight made everyone stop talking. Customers turned their heads. Even the guard outside stood frozen. The car came to a perfect stop. A chauffeur in a black suit quickly stepped out and opened the rear door. From the car stepped Amara, the same girl they had thrown out just one day ago. But today, she looked completely different. She wore a fitted cream dress and simple gold earrings. Her hair was tied neatly, and her calm expression carried quiet strength. She walked with grace, every step measured and confident. The room went silent. "Wait. That's her," whispered one of the saleswomen. "The same girl from yesterday." The receptionist blinked in disbelief. "No way." But before anyone could say more, the other door of the Rolls-Royce opened, and out stepped Mr. Leon Gates. The moment he appeared, murmurs spread through the crowd. Everyone recognized him instantly. His face had been on the covers of business magazines and newspapers and on TV interviews. He was the billionaire CEO of Gates Holdings, one of the largest investment companies in the country. Mr. Bryan's smile vanished. His skin turned pale. "Good morning," Leon said, his voice calm but commanding. He looked around the showroom with slow, deliberate eyes. "Is this Royal Drive Motors?" "Yes, sir," the manager stammered. "Welcome, Mr. Gates. We didn't expect you today." "I know," Leon replied coldly. "My daughter came here yesterday. I believe you met her." Amara stood silently beside her father, her face calm but unreadable. The employees exchanged panicked looks. The receptionist swallowed hard, her hands trembling slightly. Your daughter?" the manager asked weakly. Leon raised an eyebrow. "Yes, my only daughter." "The one you refused to serve?" The silence was heavy. You could almost hear hearts pounding. Leon's voice stayed low but sharp. "Tell me, Mr. Bryan, how do you decide who deserves respect in your dealership?" "Sir, I didn't know she was your—" Leon cut him off. "That's the problem. You treat people based on what they wear, not who they are." Mr. Bryan's mouth opened, but no words came out. His mind raced, but there was no excuse that could save him. Leon turned to his assistant, who stood near the entrance with a briefcase. "Show him the papers." The assistant handed over a thin folder. Leon spoke quietly. "By the end of this day, this dealership will belong to my company." Gasps filled the room. Even customers standing nearby froze in disbelief. Mr. Bryan's legs almost gave out. "Sir, please, this is a misunderstanding." Leon ignored him. He looked around and said, "Yesterday, you humiliated my daughter in this same room. Today, she's your new boss." Every head turned toward Amara. Her calm eyes scanned the faces, the same ones that had mocked her, now filled with fear. She didn't smile or speak. She simply nodded once, gracefully. Leon placed a hand on her shoulder. "Amara, this is your moment. Do what you think is right." She looked up at him and whispered, "Thank you, Dad." Then, turning toward the staff, she said softly, "I don't need revenge, but I'll make sure this place never humiliates anyone again." Leon gave her a proud nod, then turned toward the exit. "Transfer the ownership," he said to his assistant. "Now." The sound of his shoes on the marble floor echoed through the silent room as the Rolls-Royce door closed behind him. Everyone knew their world had just changed forever, and Amara, the girl they once laughed at, now stood where none of them could ever reach. The glass doors of Royal Drive Motors slowly closed behind Leon Gates as he stepped outside. Leaving a wave of silence behind him, everyone stood frozen. The receptionist, the manager, the salesman, and the customers. No one dared to move or speak. The air was thick with shock and shame. Inside, Amara stood tall. Her heart was calm now. Yesterday, this room had made her feel small. Today, it was hers. She looked around the same polished floor, the same cars, the same people who had laughed at her. But everything felt different. Mr. Bryan, the manager, finally found his voice. "Miss Gates," he stammered. "I am deeply sorry. I didn't know who you were." Amara's eyes met his. "You didn't have to know who I was," she said softly. "You just had to treat me like a person." Her words hit him harder than any shout could. The staff watched in silence as she slowly walked toward the same silver falcon she had admired yesterday. Its metallic body reflected her calm expression. She touched the door handle, the same one she was once forbidden to touch. "Yesterday," she said quietly, "I stood right here. You made me feel like I didn't belong. Today, I'm standing here again, but I didn't change. The only thing that changed is what you know about me." No one dared to interrupt her. She turned to face the employees. "How many people did you treat the same way? How many customers walked in here and walked out humiliated just because they didn't look rich enough?" The receptionist's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Amara nodded. "Sorry helps only when we change." At that moment, Leon's assistant entered again, holding the signed ownership documents. "It's done, Miss Gates," he said. "The dealership is officially under Gates Holdings now." Amara took a deep breath. The sound of the papers being placed on the counter was like thunder in that quiet room. Mr. Bryan looked pale. "Please, Miss Gates. I have worked here for 15 years. I didn't mean to offend you," she stopped him gently. "I'm not here to destroy anyone's life, Mr. Bryan. I'm here to change how this place works." He looked at her in confusion. "Change?" Amara nodded. "Yes. From today, no one will be judged by their clothes, their skin, or their accent. Everyone who walks through those doors will be treated with respect." She turned to the employees and continued, "You can keep your jobs, but only if you agree to this rule. If you can't, you may leave now." The room was silent. Then one by one, the staff nodded. Some had tears in their eyes. Others looked ashamed. Amara walked to the front desk, where the receptionist stood. "Yesterday, you asked if I could afford the car," she said gently. "Today, I'll ask you something different. Can you afford kindness?" The woman looked down, whispering, "No, I couldn't yesterday, but I'll try from today." Amara smiled faintly. "That's all I want." Then, in a firm voice, she called out to everyone, "Bring in the signboard." 2 workers came forward, carrying a new golden sign. It had been ordered early that morning under her father's instruction. Everyone leaned closer to read it. "Amara Motors, where respect drives first." The crowd inside the showroom broke into quiet applause. Even the customers who had been watching smiled. Amara turned to them and said, "This isn't about wealth or revenge. It's about fairness. Everyone deserves to feel valued." Mr. Bryan stepped forward again. "Miss Gates, may I stay?" She studied his face for a long moment. Then she said, "You can, but remember, every person who walks in is a potential story. Make it a good one." He nodded gratefully. "I will." As Amara looked around one last time, the silver falcon sparkled beside her. The car she once couldn't touch now stood as a symbol of her strength. The laughter that once haunted this room had been replaced by respect, and for the first time, Royal Drive Motors felt like it truly belonged to someone with heart. Morning sunlight poured through the tall windows of Amara Motors. The dealership looked almost the same as before. Same cars, same walls, yet everything felt new. The laughter of arrogance had been replaced with quiet respect. The workers spoke softly. Customers were greeted warmly, and for the first time, the air inside carried peace instead of pride. At the center of it all stood Amara Gates. Wearing a soft gray suit and a confident smile, it was her first official day as the new owner. The employees gathered near the showroom floor, curious and nervous. Mr. Bryan stood among them, his hands clasped tightly, his face pale but humble. The receptionist, once cold and distant, now looked down. Avoiding Amara's eyes, Amara glanced around and then spoke gently, her voice clear and calm. "I know what you're thinking," she began. "You're wondering if I came here to punish you?" No one moved. She smiled faintly. "I didn't. I came here to change something bigger, something that matters." She paused, letting her words sink in. When I walked in here 2 days ago, I was treated like I didn't belong. It hurt, yes. But that moment also taught me something powerful. How easy it is to make someone feel small. Respect, she said slowly, isn't a price tag. It's free, and yet it's worth more than any car in this building. The room stayed silent. Everyone listened, moved by her calm strength. She walked toward the receptionist, the woman who had mocked her. Do you remember what you said to me? The woman's eyes filled with tears. Yes. I do, she whispered. Amara nodded. And now? The woman swallowed hard. I was wrong. I was proud. I forgot what kindness means. Amara gave a small smile. Good, because starting today, kindness will be our rule here. She turned toward everyone else. No one should ever leave this place feeling less than human. Whether they wear designer suits or simple jeans, every customer, every visitor, every worker will be treated with dignity. She looked at the cars lined up across the showroom, polished, expensive, and perfect. We sell luxury here, she said, but real luxury isn't about leather seats or shiny metal. It's about how people feel when they walk through those doors. Her father's words echoed in her mind. It's not revenge. It's education. She understood it now. Mr. Bryan, she said, turning to the manager. You've been here a long time. You know this business better than anyone. I'm giving you one more chance, but your job isn't to sell cars anymore. It's to train others in respect. He looked surprised, then deeply grateful. I will, Miss Gates. I promise. Mara smiled warmly. Good. Then start today. Her assistant handed her a file, the first order under the new ownership. Amara opened it, looked at the papers, and then made an announcement. From now on, 10% of every car we sell will go to a fund for underprivileged students who dream big but can't afford education. We'll call it the Silver Hope Fund, because sometimes one small opportunity can drive someone's whole future. The employees clapped softly, then louder. For the first time, the room was filled, not with pride, but purpose. Later that afternoon, Amara walked through the service bay, greeting the workers. She didn't walk like a boss. She walked like one of them, smiling, listening, caring. They could feel her sincerity. When she reached the parking area, a small boy stood by the glass, staring at the cars with wide eyes. His clothes were torn, his hands dirty. A guard was about to shoo him away, but Amara stopped him. She walked up to the boy and asked gently, "Do you like cars?" The boy nodded shyly. "They're beautiful." Amara smiled. "Do you know what's more beautiful?" He blinked. "What?" "Dreaming big," she said softly. "Because one day, if you work hard, you can drive any of these." The boy's eyes lit up. Amara handed him a small keychain with the words Amara Motors engraved on it. "Keep this," she said. "It's a promise." As he ran off smiling, Amara looked up at the sky through the glass roof of the showroom. The sun shone brightly, warm and golden like hope itself. She whispered to herself, "Respect is free, but it changes everything." And in that quiet moment, she knew her dealership wasn't just about cars anymore. It was about hearts and how to fix them. Evening lights glowed softly across the wide glass walls of Amara Motors. The day had been long but unforgettable. Customers came and left with smiles. The staff worked with respect, not fear. For the first time, the dealership didn't just sell cars. It sold hope. As the last customer exited, Amara stood near the showroom's front window, gazing at the reflection of the glowing sign, Amara Motors, where respect drives first. It made her heart swell with quiet pride. The same place where she once felt humiliated was now filled with kindness, laughter, and gratitude. Her assistant approached quietly. "Miss Gates, all employees have signed the new policy papers," he said with a smile. "They're grateful you gave them a second chance." Amara nodded gently. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she said. "That's how people change." She took one last look at the shining silver Falcon, the car that started it all. It stood proudly under the lights, a reminder of how far she had come from humiliation to empowerment. "Lock up for the night," she said softly. "I'll stay a while." When everyone had left, Amara walked slowly through the empty showroom. Her heels echoed softly against the marble floor. She remembered every moment, the laughter, the rejection, the anger, and then her father's calm promise of justice. It all led to this peace. As she stood in the quiet space, the distant hum of an engine broke the silence. A familiar sound, deep, strong, and graceful. She turned and saw the Rolls-Royce Phantom pulling up outside. Her father had arrived. The door opened, and Leon Gates stepped out, his expression calm but warm. He looked around, taking in the changed atmosphere, the smiles, the golden sign, the shining cars. Then his eyes found Amara. "So," he said softly as he entered, "you've done it?" Amara smiled. "We've done it, Dad." Leon walked closer, looking at the dealership's interior. "It feels different," he said thoughtfully. "It feels alive." "That's because it's no longer just a showroom," Amara replied. "It's a reminder." Leon raised an eyebrow. "Of what?" "That respect doesn't need a price tag," she said. "And that kindness can change even the coldest hearts." Leon studied her for a moment. There was pride in his eyes, not for her wealth or power, but for her heart. "You've learned what I couldn't teach through books," he said quietly. "I'm proud of you, Amara," she smiled softly. "I learned it from you, Dad. You showed me how to fight, not with anger, but with purpose." He nodded slowly. "And you've taught me something too, that sometimes the best revenge is compassion." They both laughed lightly, sharing a peaceful silence afterward. Leon looked at the silver falcon, then back at her. "You still want it?" Amara chuckled. "I think I already have something better." "What's that?" "A lesson," she said, "and a reason to keep going." Her father smiled, proud and content. "Then drive home," he said softly. "Drive what you've built, not just this place, but the respect you earned." She nodded, walking toward the silver falcon. The car's doors opened smoothly, almost as if recognizing its new owner. She sat behind the wheel, the same seat where she was once told she didn't belong. Leon stood outside watching her start the engine. The soft hum filled the air, gentle yet powerful, as she rolled down the window. Mara looked at her father and said, "Thank you for believing in me when they didn't." He smiled. "You didn't need their belief, Amara. You only needed your own." The car slowly pulled out of the dealership, its headlights cutting through the evening air. The city lights shimmered on the road ahead. She drove not with pride, but with peace. The kind that comes only when you turn pain into purpose. As she passed the large glass walls, her own dealership's golden sign glowed behind her like a promise, where respect drives first. Amara whispered to herself. "Respect is free, but it changes everything." The camera could have followed her car down the shining road. Her calm face illuminated by the city lights, a young woman who had turned humiliation into honor, judgment into justice, and anger into empathy. Somewhere behind her, the world she changed kept glowing brighter. Not because of money, but because of heart. And that's how Amara Gates, the girl once kicked out of a dealership, became the woman who built one that welcomed everyone.